Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today and welcome to the home of all things FIFA Career Mode. If you are a first time viewer and you do go on to enjoy this video, please help the channel grow by hitting that subscribe button. If you're already a subscriber, welcome back and thanks for your continued support. And if you want extra FIFA Career Gems content, then just head over to either my Twitter or Instagram. In today's video I will be sharing with you my top tips on how to get good player growth in your FIFA 21 Career Mode. I have to admit it's the most frequently asked question that I get on my social media is how I grow my players to a consistently high level. And there is no simple one answer, it's a group of collective steps that when added all together throughout a career mode it can equal some excellent results. So here we go. So tip number one is to get a potential boost. Now there are three ways of doing this, including dynamic potential, which doesn't take effect until season number 2 at the earliest. So there are two ways of getting a potential boost instantly. Number one being the potential loan glitch, where you send your player out on loan, recall him and then get a boost in potential. And I always use this method if a young player drops in status at the start of a new season. And the second one is the new signing boost, where you make a new signing of a high potential player and they get a boost in potential upon signing for your club. But one very important tip is to make sure your young player has potential to be special by the time his 22nd birthday arrives. So the next tip is to fully utilize development plans. The first thing you should be looking for when starting a development plan is if any of your players get an overall boost when changing their position. The next thing to do with development plans is to make sure you're happy with all your young players' weak foot, skill move and work rate levels. If not, train them up, which should result in an overall boost, but once you're happy, switch the development plan and leave unbalanced. Moving on to the next tip, which is if your young players are not yet first team ready, loan them out. However, where possible, try to loan your players out to teams that are lower rated than yours to maximise their chances of getting more game time. And whilst your young player is out on loan, their overall should still grow quite consistently and their potential status shouldn't drop too drastically upon their return. Whereas if you left your players in the substitutes or reserves not getting much game time, then their overall wouldn't grow as well and their potential status would drop quite quickly. Moving on to the next tip on how to manage group training, which is something that I'm not a massive fan of in FIFA 21. It's a great idea that has been terribly implemented, because even though group training does not directly improve player attribute growth, it does affect match sharpness, which in turn affects player form and morale, which influences how well they perform in development plans. Therefore, by setting up a second team sheet for your reserve players, it will ensure that their morale and form don't drop too drastically. And personally, I've seen every training drill since FIFA 16 and including FIFA 21 and still achieved some excellent results. The next tip is to make sure any player that you want to achieve good growth results with gets plenty of match time. Upon them becoming first team quality, make them a first team regular and play in approximately 85% of matches. The next tip is one of the most important ones, and that is to keep an eye on your players' morale indicators to make sure they all remain thumbs up and green, which in turn will affect their dynamic potential. So for best dynamic potential results, all the 5 morale indicators need to be green. So morale needs to say very happy, player performance, play time, team performance and contract also need to remain thumbs up and green. The first 3 of those are affected by your match results, but the final one, contract, is something that you need to renegotiate at least once a season. The next tip is to limit any simming done via the calendar. As pointed out in a recent video, that if you do sim via the calendar, the assistant manager will choose your starting 11, meaning one of your players that you're looking to get good growth in might not get chosen in the first team, meaning his morale indicators will turn red. And the final tip is probably the most important, that you will need to be patient. These career modes definitely are not a short-term process and you need to be prepared to invest time into them, as you can see with mine, Season 8 with Rodez, Season 12 with Holstein Kiel, Season 10 with Brenner and Ajax, Season 10 with Atleti and Season 13 with Bolton. And by putting all these tips together, you should end up with results like this. So those were my tips on how to get good consistent growth in your young players in FIFA 21 Career Mode. But that does conclude today's video. All that remains to say is thank you so much for watching. Please remember to tune in next time. But until then, it's FCG out.